Welcome back again to another exciting DuckmanCycles production. Rob's 1972 Super Volksrod is back, and not at a good time. I've got too many other projects going on here right now, including preparing my own Eleanor for our own local car show that's only about 4 weeks away. So, WTF? Why is it here then? Well, Rob did something that I told him not to do. One of the things I told him was to protect this car at all costs. If you leave it out of your sight, somebody's gonna mess with it. So lock the doors, keep it away from people, and yada yada yada. I don't know if you can tell by looking at the back of it, and that wheel is way out this way. Because somebody rear-ended this thing because he left it parked in front of his house one night. And he blames the sun and, all this other stuff and said it's not his fault. But I said, you left it in the road, Rob. You could have parked it anywhere else. Anyway, he and I had a little showdown about that one because in his opinion it's not his fault. In my opinion, you left it out where you shouldn't have left it. I mean, the car's in the road, it's subject to being hit. But what happened was some idiot rear-ended it, hit it, I guess their front wheel kind of went in here. They hit the rear wheel this way and rolled up on top of it, which did a little crinkling to the body here. It's not too awful. It didn't, affect its integrity. It's still solid. It's not cracked. It's not split. I can probably knock the little dent out of this, and there's a little crinkling in here. This is just soft sheet metal stuff anyway. There was really no support on that. In fact, I bent that back out because it was flat against the firewall. But that's been straightened out and, as fixed as it's going to be. So I'm going to do a little bit of dent knocking and beating on this thing and getting it right. When their wheel came up in here, it also hit the brake caliper, which damaged the bleeder screws on it and broke the line on it. So when I touched the brake pedal, it literally pissed right out the back and went everywhere. So brakes were completely non-functional in this thing. It appears the axle might be rolling straight, but I'm probably going to replace it anyway. Once I get it jacked up in the air and we spin that wheel, we'll actually tell whether or not it's true. And of course, we'll see if the wheel is true or not. Although the wheel doesn't appear to be bent because when the idiot hit it, they rolled up and over the top of this thing. So there's no flat spots on the wheel that I can tell. Everything looks pretty good in that case. Where most of the problem's going to be, it looks like it's in the rear suspension right here. And if you look, you can see that spring plate is all zigzagged. Now, I don't know if this arm is bent. The arm may be bent. The arm may not be bent. The only way to tell is to replace that spring plate and just see how things line up. If things line up and it looks like it's going to be okay, I'm going to stop right there. And that'll be actually a pretty easy fix. Then I'll just go ahead and take care of the rear caliper problem there, bleed out the brakes again, and I think we might be fine after that. And yeah, the car did hit the engine. It's lucky that it didn't hit it worse, but it kind of glancing blowed it, and you can see where it hit the valve cover. That's banged up. The side of the intake manifold is scuffed, but mostly the engine got missed. The exhaust is ripped off there, as you can see, because when the idiot rolled up on this tire, he put it in reverse and pulled the exhaust off. And by the way, it was a hit and run. He drove away after that, with radiator fluid just everywhere. I mean, the car just gushed all up and down Rob's street. And unfortunately, Rob could not track this person down. He never found him. So he's stuck dealing with this, and he doesn't have the appropriate insurance to cover it, so it's on me to fix it. While it's here also, we're going to handle a couple other things on the brakes. I'm going to put the little residual pressure valve on the rear brakes because it does have rear discs, and he has to double pump it in order to make them work, and I think that'll solve that problem. In addition to that, something I missed, down in here, you can see that scratchy, rusty mark that's there. That's because the rear caliper bolts are too damn long. Some idiot put the wrong bolts on here, which ground into the caliper. Something I never noticed, but after Rob drove it for a bit, he did notice there was some scratching sounds. And the rear brake on that side drags just a little bit. So that's apparently what it is. The bolts are just run right into the disc. What a friggin' idiot. One of those things, I just didn't see it myself. Anyway, some of the spikes and stuff are missing, but Rob took them off, so they're not missing because of the accident. And there is a chrome escutcheon that goes on here that Rob currently has. I don't know where it's at. He'll turn it up. He says he likes it without it. That's on him, not my problem. I'm here to fix this today and the rest of the running gear and get this thing back in order as a running car again. Unlike rust repair, when it comes to crash damage, it's a hunt and peck situation. You just start locating and repairing broken or twisted components or things that just don't fit right anymore, and you fix what you can. On this car, because the Chevy Ford Mopar guy that owned it before and put it together attempting these repairs actually revealed more incorrectly assembled parts that could have resulted in the wheels flying off or other dangerous situations had we have not noticed them. If you've been following the series on this car, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing was just a mess. At the end of this repair, I think I'll have literally gone through everything on this car with the exception of cracking the cases on the engine and transmission. Well, likey, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back right after the intro as we dive into the fun stuff. So thanks for watching. Welcome back, everybody. Before we continue with this video, we'd just like to make a little shout out to Ashlynn over there at DustBuggy. She was, I'll tell you what, it really hurts just to talk about it. She was in a severe car wreck a couple weeks ago, and I'm a little late getting the news on this one, but she needs the help and support that she can get right now. She's got some pretty severe injuries, which includes severe damage to her legs, a broken arm, fractured skull, and, you know, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. She is in some pretty bad shape. But she is talking. I was able to communicate with her through Instagram. I'm glad to see that. But unfortunately, the worst of it is she was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's no longer with us. And I'm a little choked up and having a hard time with this one, so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. But you guys, they need some support. There's a GoFundMe page down below in the video description. Please go ahead and find the link. Take care of them. I mean, it's one of those things that does matter. And please like and comment on this video, subscribe, hit that button, because all the proceeds that this video makes is going to go into that GoFundMe account. So please, support them, and just do what you can. They need the help. I appreciate you guys. Alright, it looks like the rim is spinning straight. It does have a couple flat spots on it, but there are multiples. No one big significant one like from a car's impact. I think when it got hit, the car just kind of went up it. So look out for that. Alright, well, let's pull that rim off then. It looks like that's going to be salvageable. I do hear a little noise in the CV joint though, but the CV joint's kind of pulled out to its extreme right now, so being that it's pulled out so far, it's going to do some weird stuff. But we'll replace one part at a time, starting with that spring plate, and then we'll see how everything spins. If that CV joint settles itself and it looks like it's going to be okay, we're going to leave it on there. If not, I got replacements. Look at this. An adapter to an adapter to a socket to an adapter. Alright, let's get this out the way. Alright. Well, you know what? The caliper mount is bent. It's not square anymore. Interesting. It's wampus this way, and it's in that way. So the whole caliper bracket is gonna need some attention. Yeah, it's a little bit bent. I can see it from the backside too. Being that's not one of the set of cast brackets, that I can bend. And I can get that straight back to the way it's supposed to be. If it were a cast one and it was bent, we'd be done. This would be toast. But yeah, I can fix that. All right. Well, we'll attack that. All right, bolts are out. Caliper is off. And yep, I can see that's a little bit bent. And yes, I can straighten it. It's actually not off by much. And I'm not worried about dangling this thing from its line because the line is shot. In fact, look at that, it broke. There you go. In fact, I'm going to bend this up just so it doesn't leak. Alright, cool. There's that bracket. Get in here and see if I can make it move. Bend it right against the disc because I'm a complete asshole. Well, that was easy. Oh my god, that bent real easy. There wasn't much effort on that at all. Alright, I think that's going to be salvageable. Yeah, I figure it's a good idea just to put that caliper back on, just to see if it's going to line up properly. It was about this time that I noticed the caliper just was not lining up properly and did not want to go back over the rotor, which made no sense to me. I have no understanding as to why this was, but we'll come back to that later because I did find the problem. Something don't look right. It looks like it's spinning true. Just rubbing a little bit on one side like they always do. I did notice another problem though, and it may not be absolutely true because of this. Look down below here, guys. Look at that. You see that? See the washer behind the nut here? Well, just a second ago I was able to spin it around by hand, but there it is. There it is, see? The nut's not tight. It's not wound down all the way. Damn idiot, whoever owned this before. Friggin' fool. Yeah, I never tightened the nut down properly. Anyway, we'll be fixing that. Chances are we're probably gonna take this all apart anyway. If it turns out it does have a bad trailing arm, which is this part right here. If this is crooked, then this whole thing's getting replaced, and I'll swap out the axle too, because I have another arm with an axle already installed in it. But yeah, I doubt I'm gonna be able to get these off without a wrench on the back side, but I guess we're about to see. Now, they are turning though. That one came off. You gotta hear for these DeWalt tools, man. These things are tough, really tough. I mean, it is not meant for what I'm using it for, and it loosened up those nuts. Fantastic. All right, let me grab a wrench for that, and I'll pull that thing out. All right. There's another one. This one might be a little tricky. A little tough to get the wrench in there. Now I got it. Alright. That's a little tighter than normal because the spring plate is all bent up. It makes it difficult to get in there. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to attack it like this. That's about all she got. Come on. Get on there. Okay. Anything to piss a white boy off. That's what this is all about here. It's all about pissing me off. That nut just wants to spin. Or bolt, I should say. Alright, let's try. Tighten. Loosen. Tighten. Loosen. Just beat it off of there. 'Cause everything just loves to be beaten off. There it goes. Gotcha, bitch. Alright. Ooh, even the washers are nice and warm. Going for that spring plate cover next. Hopefully these have long bolts on it, which looks like a no. Long ones make it a whole lot easier to put back together. And I'm hoping that the torsion tube, not the bar itself, but the tube where the bar sits inside of, is still straight after being hit. Being this is a rat rod, I guess it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to get a good alignment on it, it would be nice to have a straight torsion bar. But I think if any part of the Beetle was the toughest part, it's probably the torsion bar. Alright, this plate should come off of here. Spring plate cover. Get off of there. Come on now. Come on, come off. Alright. Off camera here for a second. I was trying to figure out how to get these bolts out. There's one down there, one up here. I don't know why the Volkswagen factory runs them in from the back side, because they're practically impossible to get out. if you run them in from the front side and put the nut on the back, it makes a whole lot more sense. Plus, for whatever it's worth, it gives you more clearance for the tire when you just have a bolt head sticking out the one side instead of a nut with a little bit of bolt sticking through it. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm at a little bit of a stuck point here. I might have to start cutting some stuff. This doesn't come apart like it normally does because it's been crashed. Hoping maybe I can pry it a little bit and get it to separate just enough that I can... Oh, be careful, Duckman. Be careful. You're gonna break that back window, Duckman. You're gonna pull back on this, and then this is gonna go pew right through that back window, and then everybody's gonna laugh at you because you're such a beginner, and everybody's gonna talk to you like a beginner. Just wait and see in the comments section, Duckman. Oh. Well, those bolts required a lot of percussive persuasion. Needless to say, they're out. That was not easy. I've been out here for about the last half an hour just trying to knock bolts out of holes. Just freaking ridiculous. Anyway, I have removed spring plates before without removing the axle. I'm gonna give that a shot. Being that this thing is all as bent up as it is, I don't know if it's gonna come out. But I gotta knock this trailing arm straight down or up, whichever way, to get it out of the way of the spring plate. And then once that's out of the way, then I can knock the spring plate off of its lower catch. And I might need to use my chicken foot here to raise it up a little bit. See the chicken foot? And that's not actually its name, that's just what I call it. And as a result, our local club started calling it that. But this is a spring plate, what do you call it? I guess it's an adjuster. It allows you to tighten it up and move the spring plate to where it needs to go. And then you can work. Oh boy, I'm actually out of breath from getting up and down and up and down and up and down so damn much here. And it doesn't help that I'm still having trouble breathing from this bad allergy problem, right? Anyway, all right, let's see if we can get that spring plate pulled out from behind that trailing arm. First, let's try to go down. And there it goes, okay, good. That'll come off. You know, it may not, because that axle's all stretched. There's not that much more give in that axle. Alright, well, we're gonna go for it. If we blow the CV joint out, we're just gonna replace the CV joint. Alright, here we go. Before I hit record, I jumped up and down on it, and it moved. Now I just need to get it to move the last, I don't know, half an inch or so. Get this between the two. Almost. One more time. Alright, usually I use a shorter, got a couple of pry bars. Get this under here, that under there, and it's good. There it goes. Alright, it's out. Now we get to see, boy, you can see how much spring tension was on it because it was smashed in there and almost kind of straight, versus now that it's it's way the hell out there because it's come out from behind that arm. Okay, one of the things we're going to need to check and see if the arm is straight. Yeah, it feels like it's still got some motion in it. There's a rubber bushing way up in the end that allows you to adjust your alignment, so there is a little bit of play in it, and that's normal. Okay, that spring plate's got to come out. Where the angle is in this, because the up to down this way is going to affect our ride height. And this thing sat pretty tall, so it might be stock ride height, or close to it. Just need to get it off the stop on the bottom, and it looks like it's about off of it. Yeah, it's off. Alright, here we go. Ah. There it goes. Alright. That tool wasn't supposed to pop off, but it doesn't matter that it did. Alright, the angle that this is at, we're going to have to measure that. Or at least make a marking right here. Because that's where our new spring plate's going to have to go. I got us a new spring plate. Right over here. Should be an exact fit. Fell in the dirt, so I'm going to have to clean it up, but there it is. Alright. Here's our mark. There it goes. Alright, that wasn't that bad at all. And the whole torsion bar is trying to come out, but you don't want it to. We just want this to come off. Now, you know what? It might have to come out. I better mark on it which way is up as I pull it out. And no, you don't want to scratch the metal on these things, but there is a plastic coating on it. Not paint, it's actually like a plastic coat. It's really thick because torsion bars, if they get a scratch on them or if they're compromised by, let's say, rust, this is the torsion bar, what will happen is they'll explode. Because this bar is actually a spring. This thing twists in motion. Okay, that should put us back in there. I need to pull, no, I don't need to pull. The rubber googie's right here. Well, let me clean this thing up. This thing is just freaking dirty from falling in the dirt. And now we're gonna put it on and see if we can get that line to line up. All right, we're good and cleaned up. Let's see if I can get this back in here. I need to get the rubber gogie and cover up with this one too. Oh, I guess I should have done that first. We'll be right back. Figure I should show you one last look at these things before I get them bolted down. This is the new spring plate. Here's the old one. That's what that crash did. Clearly not straight anymore like it needs to be. Oh, that's something. Looks like that's not really the straightest thing either. It's bowed a little bit, but that's probably due to the way it bolts together. And yeah, that's what we're replacing. It's good news I had the right parts to do it, you know? Anyway, that's crap. Bye. Let's get this one put on. Alright, so put that cover back on and put that back into where it was. This is going to be noisy. I put this rag kind of on it to stop that thing from ringing like a bell. Alright. Now comes the real pain in the ass part. And that's the part where we start putting bolts back in and you discover that they're not long enough, so nothing wants to fit. And then you curse and you yell and you scream and you get upset about everything, and then you just take a fuck it all and you quit working on it for a day or two, come back to it a week later and decide you still don't want to do it. And then you go to tech session and you have somebody like me do it, right? That's the way it goes. Alright, well, let me go find them bolts. We're gonna start tightening them in there. Alright, I didn't even bother to show it because these 4 bolts on the plate just kind of went in. That never happens. These things are always a fight. And not this time. This time they actually just went in their holes like they're supposed to, and they're ready to be tightened down. I mean, this is this is incredible. Things never work out this well. Yeah, I don't believe it. Okay, well, while everything is still loose, we need to put the chicken foot on here and bring this thing back up to get it back on the lower stop. Once that's in place, then we'll bop this thing so that way the spring plate seats itself, and then we can tighten down the plate. And I think we should be good after that. Come in, come in, come in. Here it is. All right, gotta bring this back up. Could use a little lube down here. We should put it in there. There it goes. This is something that Decklid Don complains about. Oh, it's so hard to turn these. Now putting your finger under here is probably a no-no, because if that lets go, boop, break your finger. Alright, we're almost up to the stop. Alright, I think we're almost there. That's it. Alright, in she goes. I think you might need to go up just a little bit higher. There it goes. Alright, that's where it needs to be. Now we can go ahead and tighten these down. Oh, Duckman, don't use an impact. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna strip them out. Oops. Alright. One more. Just make sure they're all snug. Now they're all snug. Fantastic. Alright, make sure that stays where it's supposed to go. Looks good. Let that back down. I'm wondering here just how tight this nut actually is. It looks like it was ready to kill Rob. If this thing loosens up this easily, this car was a danger. Oh, it's turning. Feels like there's some shit on the threads here. Should have lubed it first. Then it would have made a very, very impressive argument for the DeWalt. I could have just said, oh yeah, the tool did all that work. There's no way that this little tool turned that, 300 foot-pounds or what, 275 or something like that. Yeah, there's no way. So that nut wasn't tight. I think the only thing that was holding it on was a little bit of rust and a fucking dream. Oh my God, everybody's got a piece of shit car going down the street today. Alright, that's off. Congratulations, Duckman. Alright. See if we can get that off of there. Hey, that's not too bad. That was not too bad at all. Alright, good. I guess a little pea blaster goes a long way. I didn't notice the problem right away, but you can see it right there. You see that spacer on that axle? It's not supposed to be where you see it. Now, as you guys saw, it started to get a little dark, and I pulled that CV joint off right about that time. There's the CV joint. Some of the rings, cages, and other stuff just exploded out of it. So that CV joint is for sure shot. I'm not counting on the other one being any good either. The good news is we have another axle, so we're just going to replace the entire thing, CV joints included. Otherwise, the trailing arm looks like it's going to be okay. What I did here, just to check, is I used this square tube, and I put it over that axle, and then I tried to move the trailing arm into position to make sure it would go straight again. And the good news is there's a rubber bushing on that end. It has a lot of give into it. That's used for adjusting the alignment on this thing. You can also set the camber on it by scissoring the spring plate, but that had a lot more motion in it than I thought it would. And even though it looked like it was crooked, it went right straight. So I'm not the least bit worried about that trailing arm being bent. That axle appears to spin true also, so I think we're in good shape as far as that's concerned. At this point, it's just a matter of starting to put everything back together. I'll put this on here, and then we'll lift this up, and we'll push our spring plate under. I just simply prying it in. Whoopsie. Probably should be using a smaller pry bar here. There it goes. That's it. You know what? Something don't look right. I think my arm might be bent. Yeah, we're not quite right. This axle, the driving plane would be this direction, and it needs to go that way. You can tell it's not lining up properly. Yeah, it's definitely out of whack. It's really wampus. Okay, it's bent. Oddly, it looks like it's shrunk. I don't quite know how to... Weird. I don't see anything that looks obvious that it's tweaked or bent or crinkled. There's no wrinkles in anything. But clearly that does not line up. And it needs to go further forward, and the further forward that I put it, the more out of alignment this thing's gonna go. So I got some figuring out down here, or possibly I'm just replacing this arm. Yeah, something's definitely not right. Alright, way up the end of this trailing arm is this bolt in here. And it's a 17mm cap head bolt, or crackhead bolt as I've been calling them. And they're kind of on an awkward angle, and it's hard to get in there even with a swivel. It's also hard to get to just because of where it's at. Hopefully, well, looks like we can just barely get a ratchet in there. This is the way I used to always do it. I think I was using a different ratchet that had a smaller head on it. Alright, I don't know if that bolt is free yet. It feels like it might be. Yeah, it is. This whole arm should just pull out. Motherfucker. Yeah! Bastard. We got our washers. This is, probably the most over-engineered bolt on a Volkswagen. Porsche designed this for Volkswagen when they retrofitted everything to the IRS rear suspension that's on here. And, well, just way over-engineered. The Porsche 944, which used the same rear suspension, had a completely different bolt, and it was just simply a regular bolt. Nothing quite as exotic as this. Oh, it was also much smaller, I might add. A much smaller diameter. Alright, we'll need that to put back in. I'm just looking at this here, and I'm sure somebody's going to ask about it. It looks like it's an air conditioning line, and that somebody cut it off. I see two of them under here, so that would probably be a supply and return. Well, anyway, this car probably had AC at one point. Looking top down here, interesting. You look at the rear brake bracket where it's bolted in. You look at the flange that mounts to the spring plate. You notice they're not parallel anymore. I think the arm is bent somewhere in here. This end of it's probably fine. The spring plate stopped moving, and then over here where it got hit just pulled everything out. This is just stamped sheet metal, so I'm not surprised the least bit if that's what happened. So yeah, it probably bent right up in here somewhere. Anyway, we're just gonna replace this whole arm. All right, you look at this replacement piece, you can see right through here and the spring plate flange are parallel. So I think that's where our problem is. This is gonna be our replacement arm. I'm gonna throw that in there right now. I should take that drum off because it's actually very heavy and it's gonna make it a little bit more to wrestle, but at the same time, I don't even wanna try to remove that drum until this arm is mounted because I need something to anchor it. And when I put these things in a vise, after they've been sitting outside for this long, removing that axle and removing that drum, it's an awful fight. So we're not doing that. We're just gonna throw it on there, I'm gonna grit my teeth, and yeah, we'll just fight with it, throw it in there. Here we go. The biggest dick problem I'm gonna have here is getting the arm into place and then lining up the bolt. Because once you get that arm in, oh, this drum, you pain in my ass, freaking ass. back you guys up just a little bit. I don't like doing these at all. Okay. Where the hell's my bolt at? I probably should start slipping it in there. There are two washers. The two washers go between the mounting flange of the trailing arm and the trailing arm itself. So they sandwich in there, and then the bolt goes through from the outside. Yes, that is correct. Some people like to tell me, stop me in my comment section and say, Duckman, one belongs on the outside, one belongs on the inside. No, they both belong on one side, and it's on the outside of the inside. That makes sense to you. Okay, here we go. Hey, it's in. I don't believe it, it just slipped in. I might have just got lucky, really lucky. Oh my God. Oh shit, there goes the washer. Can I still reach it? I hope. Come on, you bastard. I got it. Okay. All right. It's in. If that bolt is lined up, it should turn and tighten. I don't believe it went in that easy. I got lucky that time. Usually this is a battle for several minutes until it finally goes in. And no, dumb luck, I just kind of fell in. All right, here we go. Usually what happens is I start tightening these, the bolt will just spin, but the threads never catch. But I think I got lucky again. Wow, 3 times in a row. The arm lined up, I dropped the washer, but it still was within reach. Then the bolt lined up and it's snugging up like it's supposed to. This is, I should be playing the lotto tonight, shouldn't I? Well, you know what? That was 3 wins in a row. Don't tempt the universe. When you ask for too much, you have problems. Almost done. Okay. This is one of those bolts. Fuck your torque spec. Just make it as tight as you possibly can. I've never seen one of these come out on me. Easy Jeezy, however, recently made a video where he made a clip to hold it in because apparently he loses his. I've never seen that happen before. But props to him. He actually engineered a great little way to retain it. Okay. I'm gonna get underneath here where I have a little more leverage to pull on that breaker bar. Oh shit. That's all she wrote. I don't believe it. That went in a lot easier than I thought it would. Okay, and I just ripped my jeans. Hell yeah. Alright, we gotta run these bolts into the spring plate, which means I gotta pull that up to where it needs to go. You know what, that axle being under there is kind of offering a little bit of support. I'll take it. Alright, let me show you around the other side here. Alright. You'll remember earlier in the video I said a Volkswagen always ran their bolts in from the back. The trouble is if you ever go to take this apart again, they're practically impossible to get out. Especially in the case of this car, because everything was just bent and just mangled over here on this side. But the way I'm going to do it is the way that I've always done it, and that's to run the bolts in from the front side, just like that. And then we'll attach the nuts from the back side because they're really easy to get to. And that's all there is to it. I mean, how hard is that? On the back side where the nut goes is one wavy washer and one thick washer. And right over, put the nut on. I just chased these threads earlier because they were a little boogered up from me having to hammer everything apart. Yeah, you might be having a little bit of an issue with that one. I'll come back to that. But this one, put that on here, like that. Washer, wavy washer, and then the nut. There it is. And then just for the moment, we'll get it snugged up just a little. It's not tightened all the way, but something like that. And we'll run through the rest of them and we'll get this thing all bolted on. Kind of interesting that we got a bolt hole up here and it looks like we don't have one on that side. This is one of those wonky swing arms. I see what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to drill another hole here, line up with the hole in the spring plate, or drill a hole through here and then slot the spring plate on the other side. Now, anyway, I got a little more work ahead of me here, but thankfully, this is not hard stuff. This is actually just easy stuff. Working suspension now. I do have to get that last bolt in there, which needs a hole drilled approximately right there somewhere. Actually, I think I hit the right spot. All right. Well, we're doing okay here. It's gonna start getting dark soon. Let's get out my tools to start drilling. Alright, that wasn't too big a deal at all. This metal is actually kind of soft. So it drilled right through without too much effort. Alright. Got our washers here. And then we got our nut. Goes on the back side. Now it's kind of unusual that this had that hole up on top instead of on the bottom. It's almost like this arm was from the other side or something, but I wouldn't guess that. Who knows, right? People do weird shit to these things over the years. Some really, really weird things. Fuck you! I'm getting tired, guys. At least I'm breathing better than I was. I imagine tomorrow I'll probably feel even better than I do today. And the day after I'll feel a little bit better. Shaking this allergy stuff a little bit at a time. Here we go. There it is. Alright, now the alignment's certainly not set. Let's go ahead and look at the back side here and see just how straight this thing is with the rest of the vehicle. Yes, sir. That's much better. It is now in line with the vehicle. Now, of course, I don't know if my alignment's quite right. It might be off by a little bit. But it's now in place. And it's now looking good. And I think if we get that wheel bolted back on here, this thing should drive again. That's right. So anyway, that's there. I got to get that drum off of there. That's one of those things I'm going to pull off. Not right now. It's getting a little bit dark. But we'll certainly do that tomorrow. And then once that's set, then we can start working on the brakes. Put that axle back on there. We're going to investigate the CV joint on there and see just exactly what happened to it. I'm curious. I've never seen one shatter like that. When I saw parts fall out of it, it was kind of interesting. I got to put the rear shock back on, and I got to deal with the engine mounts. I mean, look at this. Yeah, that engine is not exactly bolted in right anymore. I guess when it got hit, it deflected it enough that it tore the mounts to it, which probably weren't in good shape to begin with. I'll bet you money on that one. All right, well, we're just gonna put a couple more bolts and a few more things, and then we're gonna call it a night. Ow! Get this shock mounted in here. There's no sooner I start working, somebody comes up behind me with a noisy ass car. That's life for you, right? Alright, I'm gonna have to battle with this one. And I'm tired of hearing mowers.